Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment. And I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media, and it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. Last week, I have been posting videos about education. Not every day, but I've done several posts on education. And my question to y'all is, what is it that we have to do to get better schools? I mean, the public school system, have y'all not figured out that the unions and the federal government are making education worse? I mean, seriously, folks. And you get these leftists, well, you didn't say that correctly. Okay, but you're not teaching correctly. I had good teachers, and I am pretty certain that if any of my English teachers were to listen to what I am saying, they are probably looking at me like, can I smack you now? I had very sweet teachers in high school. I had really good teachers in middle school. I had good teachers in elementary school. And I'm certain they're looking at my redneck self and they're going, we give up. But that seems to not be the case when it comes to these kids nowadays. Now you got teachers, more and more and more and more of them that are trying to do things with students that, I'm sorry, no. Heck no. No. Don't do that. That's bad. You're an adult. They're a kid. You need to do these things with adults, especially if you're married. Or we're putting kids in dangerous situations where these schools are crumbling. And yet leftists are going, well, we just need more money. No, you don't need more money. You need to apply the money that you've already got in the correct manner. You need to get rid of all these administrators and focus on teaching. Take a look at charter schools. Charter schools are 10 times better than public schools. Why? Because they're focused on teaching. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm just, this is my weekly rant, and I'm going to go on about this one today. Now, the first thing that we need to start doing is teaching the basics. Now, I currently live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. They have something in the public school system here called the academy system. If kids are wanting to specialize in certain topics such as engineering, I have a good friend of mine who her son is currently going to a major university. I'm not going to say which one, going through their aerospace engineering degree. Well, he went through the STEM academy here, and he's went to this major university, and he's breezing through. He understands the math. He's already really good at math, but he's breezing through it. And aerospace engineering is not an easy course. This is not an easy major. This isn't communications. This isn't some kind of ethnicity or gender-based class. This is real world situations that have real world applications. And this kid's breezing through it because he had a public school system that actually cared. But that's not the case in most places. Most places don't have a school system large enough to do like an academy system like here in Virginia Beach. And so these kids are being put into these schools, and the teachers are limited. Who they can hire are limited. So these kids are not only barely getting educated, you see these TikToks and YouTube shorts and Facebook reels of these teachers who are not teaching what they're supposed to be teaching. Instead, they're teaching gender politics and things like that. This isn't good for kids. This isn't good for the future. And that's where you end up with these weird social media things of all these women and men who are freaking out because Trump got elected. If you actually had the ability to comprehend, which should have been taught in school, then you'd understand that Trump's limited in some of the things that he can do. You'd already know that Trump wasn't planning on doing half or three quarters or even 90% of what some of these people are claiming. You get a really quick understanding. No, that isn't what people want. But they're not teaching that in school. Maybe we need to go back to that, being able to have like understanding of what's going on instead of being brainwashed. And that's where charter schools have been far more successful. And I went to a public school. I didn't go to a charter school or a private school. I went to backwoods schools. And in all honesty, even my liberal teachers were really good back in the day, but we're talking I graduated in 1993. I listen to what these kids are going through nowadays, and I'm going, what in the world is going on? Now, look, I'm going to go a little personal here, and I don't necessarily like going personal, but I'm doing it because I'm going to point out an example of certain types of students that teachers have to deal with, most likely in public schools. Why? Because if parents care, they end up in charter schools or in better situations. I was no priority to my mother. I was actually a burden to my mother. My mother told me that on a regular basis. I have a much younger sister that was my mother's priority, but while growing up, I was not. My mother didn't care. My mother just wanted to. I was her whipping post. She quite literally told me that she hated me on a regular basis. So, students who have to go through that, and I was not the only student that went through that. I'm not wanting people to pity me. But teachers have to deal with students that are dealing with that in their homes. These kids are sometimes troublemakers. Sometimes these kids just can't be reached easily. So they get shunted to the side. Teachers just make sure that they get the bare minimums and get out of their class. There were some really good teachers that I had that tried to make sure that I had some kind of good experience in school. They tried to do that with everybody. But teachers have to deal with that. The thing is that there are students that are going there that are not a burden, are actually there to learn. Their parents actually give a care. And these students need to be put into a position where they're not having to deal with the teachers also having to teach the burdens. And yes, I will admit I was a burden to my teachers. I'm well aware that I was a burden to my teachers. I was seeking, I don't know what the right term is. I was seeking validation or something or attention in a positive way or even a negative way. So this was taking away time from students who actually could go further in life from what their education was. Did I learn in school? Yes. I loved learning. I just was annoying, and I'll admit to it. So these students that were in there that were getting a far better home situation than me, these teachers didn't have a chance to always focus on them, but they should have had a focus. They don't need to be put into a cookie cutter situation where they're having to be kept behind to make sure that the burdens are keeping them from not learning what they could to get further ahead. And that's what our public schools are failing at. This cookie cutter mentality where they need to all be learning at the same speed. No, we need to have a way to fast track students, not necessarily fast track them, but get them to the point where they are actually learning more advanced stuff so they can get further ahead quicker. Education is about learning. but not in the public school systems. And that needs to be fixed. And here's something that if we actually had a valid Department of Education, either on the state or federal level, textbooks would not be the way they are. There are a lot of places where these textbooks can be electronic. And no, each copy does not need to have a different electronic license. That is some BS, completely BS. There needs to be electronic books to put into these schools where kids can sit there without having to carry around all of these book bags and everything, where they can go home and access these textbooks online. Yes, I'm well aware that some students don't have access to that, but this would start cutting down for rural counties how much money that they're having to pay out. This would help the smaller school systems. For larger school systems, some schools, you're not going to have that worry. Yes, you are probably going to have to put security guards in the schools, but it would be far cheaper if you have electronic textbooks that these kids can look at school, and then the guards are keeping the schools safe. There comes a point where modern technology needs to be embraced by schools. Textbooks are one of those. And also, it needs to be worked out where these textbooks, like I said earlier, you have so many, and even on the university level where they do have electronic textbooks more readily available, they're wanting to charge outrageous amounts of money for electronic licenses. If we had valid concerns by our legislatures, our Congress, the boards of education of the different school systems, the Department of Educations of the states and the federal level, they'd already have worked this out. But they don't. Why? Because guess who gets kickbacks? That's no lie. Look into it. These textbook companies are giving donations to politicians who are making sure that this doesn't happen. This is another solution that people need to look at. Electronic textbooks in a valid way. And I'm going to present a third idea to you. We need public school teachers that are monitored. The unions have made sure that they're not being monitored. They don't want what teachers are spouting to kids being known to the parents. This needs to end. As soon as these teachers start spouting political bull, it needs to end. There needs to be a way to remove these teachers or to retrain them to learn that they need to teach what is actually their job, not giving rants about Trump, whether for or against, giving political ideology instead of actual class time. While these teachers are in there, they need to be teaching, and they need to quit trying to hook up with the students. Oh my God. That one shouldn't even be. They are supposed to be public servants. They are. And we need to learn what they're doing. We need to know what they're doing. They need to be viable teachers. Not every teacher's like that. This is ruining the reputation of those teachers. And for that matter, we need to get unions away from hurting those teachers that are being innovative. I'm having issues pronouncing words, sorry. Because they do that. Get rid of the tenure system, start monitoring these teachers, and reward innovation. innovative, I don't know why I have a problem pronouncing that word, but innovative teachers. There we go. I did it. Innovative teachers need to be rewarded. They need to be praised from the mountains to the valleys. They're not. Unions hate these teachers. You'd think I'm joking. Actually, do your research on this one. Unless it is furthering the union goals, they hurt these teachers. We need to get to the point where we're teaching people how to read, how to write, how to do arithmetic. So reading, writing, arithmetic. We need to teach them how to cope in the real world. Critical thinking is necessary. We need to actually, treat these students like they're individuals, not some part of some cookie cutter thing. And we need to do it now. Because if we don't, it's going to continue to be a failure in our education system. I'm just bringing up 3 different ways here. These are just 3 ideas. I went on a little bit of a rant on some of this, but we need to get to the point where schools are a priority, students are a priority, and what we're paying for is not being wasted. Everybody is paying into the school system one way or another. And if we don't make sure that it's not being wasted, that it's not being abused, then this is going to continue in this country. Look, students like me, yes, we need an education, like what I was when I was younger. But there are students that can excel that are not being allowed to because they are forced to be on the same level when they could go so much further. Schools have ways of, if we address it, have a way of not having so much money wasted on textbooks that how many times do they get destroyed when they could just be electronic? And for that matter, how many teachers do we need to seriously? You've got teachers that they're having to see what students that they've done things to. All of this is fixable. It really is. We just have to actually apply basic common sense to the problem. But when politicians get involved, when school administrators are not incentivized to fix the problems, this is what we get. We get an education system in which students are failing in most of the country. So I'm going to harp on this on occasion, and I'm going to make sure that people hear my opinion, whether people actually listen to me or not. Okay, whatever. But this is the way that I'm going to do it. I've got a microphone. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm going to do it. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all think about this now. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.